to unite. Because Uganda, even if you wanted to build a navy, how can you build it? We don't have access to the sea. The political organization in Africa is so irrational. Some of the countries have no access to the sea. For economic purposes, but also for defense purposes, you are stuck.
General Museveni has come out to declare that in the future there would be some wars between East African countries because of the sea. We all know that Africa was not our own making. It was the making of the British. They partitioned Africa based on their interest. They did so in the Berlin Conference. Germans sat down, they divided the country according to their interest. Some of those countries like Namibia, etc. have even boundaries which are awkward because maybe resources were there. So at the end of the day, they partitioned the country where some countries which had sea access were blocked. Some which never had were given. And Museveni came out to warn this. So, in the purpose of this video, I've come to interrogate the statements which were made by General Kaguta Museveni and their impact. Because we all know, is I think one of the biggest general and army officer in East Africa. Apart from Kagame and maybe Salva Kiir, he has the longest history of the bush, etc. He made some of other generals in East Africa. So when he comes out to make such statements, they must shock Kenya and Tanzania, because we all know there has ever been a war between Tanzania and Uganda. When Idi Amin attacked Tanzania, some people say he wanted to access the sea level, the sea. So before I proceed, let me first play all the statements which are made by General Kaguta Museveni. Pay a lot of attention because they're going to form a basis of our discussion. Here's the tape.
So you people, why don't you see how to unite? Because Uganda, even if you wanted to build a navy, how can you build it? We don't have access to the sea. The political organization in Africa is so irrational. Some of the countries have no access to the sea. For economic purposes, but also for defense purposes, you are stuck. How do I export my products? That's why we have got endless discussion with Kenya, and then this one stops, another one comes, then the railway, the pipeline, the what, we discuss. But that ocean belongs to me. Because where is my ocean? I am entitled to that ocean. In future, we are going to have wars. In the future, we are going to have wars. How can you say that you are in a block of flats, that the compound belongs to only the flats on the ground floor, that the compound belongs to the whole block. All the flats are entitled to the compound.
Yeah.
There's no way you can say. So me, I just watch these people. You are really endangering yourself. How can you have a situation like this? Uganda is landlocked inside here. But where is my ocean? My ocean is the Indian Ocean. So, no, it belongs, really, me. I'm on the top floor of the block. And then you say the compound belongs only the ones on the ground floor. This is madness.
So that is General Kaguta Museveni, as he was saying that in future there will be a law. In fact, if you listen to his logic, it has some water. Because he equated it to being in an apartment where some people are not allowed to use the compound. But if you look at it in sovereignty, it doesn't allow. It only allows a country on a sea to be the owner of the sea, I think 14 nautical miles. But what pains him up that even when the way we are petitioned, for example, the case in Uganda, when you go on the board of Busia, there are Kenyans and Ugandans, yet they share the same grandparents and brothers. A brother lives this side and another brother lives this side. They use the same language. The other side are called Baluya, this side Basamia. Over Gisu and Umwami, etc. When you go on the board of Tanzania and others, or the border between Tanzania and Kenya, Kisi's share borders. A grandfather is this side, another grandfather is this side. So the way we are petitioned, it was to disadvantage us. And when you look at Europe, almost most European countries can access the sea. This is that maybe they fought to that way or they negotiated. When they came to Africa, they made sure that some countries don't access the sea, depending on what they wanted at that time, and it has remained the status quo. The reason as to why even up to now countries have some border dispute is because of the colonial masters. Look at how South Korea and North Korea were made. They are fighting, but they are the same people. Look at the conflict between China and Taiwan. They are ideally the same countries. One was governed by Soviet Union, another one was governed by America. Border disputes was because of the colonial mentality. It is the truth. Look at Eritrea and Ethiopia. Border disputes because of integrating people and dividing people according to your own interest. So for me, it is true that in the future, maybe some countries will have to evade others so that they can access the sea. It is the truth, because Africa was not our own making. In fact, a resolution must be passed in Africa on how we must integrate and divide our country, so that at least we can put some input on how countries are supposed to be. We cannot continue being under the partition of the white man when we don't know even the aims as a country. Secondly, okay, even if you disallow a certain country like Uganda to access the sea, there must be mechanism on how we can harness the relationship and we both use the sea to our own to the advantage of both of us. I'm not saying that maybe Uganda should use the sea more than Kenya, or Kenya should use the sea more than Uganda, but we must harness. In Europe, they are connected by railways. In Europe, they have passed laws where another person can visit another country without a visa, such things, so that we can make East African integration more easier. The first step should be building East African blocks with power, where I can go to Kenya with my national ID, not on paper, but in practice. As we go on, we may even make a referendum to have maybe a federation. After federation, you can have one country because it is possible. Language that is spoken in Tanzania, the same that can be spoken in Uganda, the same that's spoken in Kenya, it is and Rwanda. Because there are some parts in Kenya where you can speak Luganda, Kiswahili. It is because some of the mother tongue are the same. So we must learn to harness, to prevent wars. But of course, even General Museveni speaking like that, it shows that maybe we need the sea body. One of the regret I see about our country is not having a full potential of the sea. Of course, that's my opinion. Remain yours truly, Mr. Makindi, Kabia Sulaiman Mawaga, the next MP for Makindi constituency. I'll see you on another one. Peace.